This Monday morning, 16 Days for Youth. We are involved in some incredible work as part of what's going on at the ICANN Academy in Parkwood. Auntie Aletta she's just a shining light in her neighborhood. But her project has come with some unintended hindrances, such as an asbestos roof. Now, on the face of it, you just jump up there, you clean it, and you fix it, you clean it, you paint it, and off you go. Not at all. In fact, we've had to call in some expert help to assist us. And I thought off the back of that, let's get the team from Asbestos Africa on the line with us. I'm going to start the conversation with Stuart Mabry. Now, he's joining us on the line from PE, I believe it is, from Kleberga. Good morning, Stuart.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for your help on this project. I had an idea that asbestos roofing was tricky, but I had no idea that it was quite that problematic when it comes either to repairing, to maintaining, or cleaning. Just talk us through the ins and outs generally of asbestos roof sheeting.
All right, so not to frighten everybody off, asbestos is dangerous when you mine it.
Yes.
And you cut it. So the law says the lame man, the average man on the street can do up to 10 square meters of repairs and replacement without having to get the Department of Labour or what they call the AIA involved, the Asbestos Inspection Authorities. And the fallacy that you can only remove it is it's crazy. You can actually encapsulate it nowadays too, and it'll be just as safe and outlast any other roof.
For now and over the coming days, maybe coming weeks, I just want us to have asbestos bubbling in the back of our minds. And I'm going to be reaching out. Like here, for instance, Nina on the WhatsApp line saying, there's a school in the Blue Downs area having the asbestos roof replaced earlier this year. They didn't bother closing the school down in the process. Now, as a layperson, that just sounds like an irresponsible thing to be doing. Just based on what we heard from Stuart Mabry and Andre Struvich, very, very stringent safety measures in place. Areas got to be evacuated, cordoned off, and so on. When those sheets get removed, there's a way in which it needs to be disposed of, and so on. Nina goes on to say, they said it's safe for the kids to come to school. The parents called for a meeting to address the health concerns. The school explained there was nothing to worry about. And I wonder, just there, are we, as a simple example, are we, or have we put those kids, those teachers, everybody who works on site, the educators and the support staff and so on, have we put them at risk? And maybe we haven't, which is why I'm not even mentioning the school or anything. I'm just using this as an example. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. There are very many people in parts of Cape Town who have asbestos roofs, particularly older homes. They get up there, they clean it, they scrub it down, they take a broom. And what you're doing is you're disrupting the fibers. And you heard our expert there say that stuff lodges in your lungs. 20, 30, 40 years down the line, you end up with cancer and you can't figure out, it's not in the family. Well, no, it's not in the family. It's in the roof, you see. That's the bit. And you remove those sheets. You drill holes. You put in downlights into your sheeting without realizing into your ceiling boards without realizing that stuff, once you disturb it, that causes all sorts of drama, and the city of Cape Town, to what extent is there an asbestos roof replacement protocol with older housing stock that is still on the books of the city of Cape Town, for instance? When people get given the title deeds to their homes, it's all fair and well handing over these homes. Do you realize what risk you run when you accept ownership of a roof of a house with an asbestos roof? Ryan here saying, morning, Aiden, I've got asbestos roof sheets in my garage. How does one dispose of it if you want to have it replaced? Well, I've got exactly the same thing. I've got a building outside of my house, so it's not connected to the house. It's a garden shed where we store tools and do all sorts of things. But if I want to have that roof replaced, I can't do it myself. I've got to get the experts. It's not a cheap exercise, let me tell you, and it's based on per square meter, and there's a cost for having it removed off your property and having it dumped correctly and so on. You're talking about thousands, possibly tens of thousands for very basic, on the face of it, cheap work. You can get a bunch of guys off the street who can come and do it, chop it up, put it in the back of a bucket and go and dump it. It'll all cost you under $1,000, maybe $1,500. That's not the way you do it without creating incredible health risks for people. So Auntie Aletta's place has given us reason to get the experts involved. And I thought off the back of that, let us fully understand just some of the risks, because there are very many homes in our city that have these asbestos roofs, have asbestos ceilings. If it's not handled properly, you are putting your health at serious risk. So having it as a roof, and I know some people have asbestos ceilings, which is the other thing, in particularly older homes. So they would, and you just think it's normal rhino board ceiling panels. It's actually asbestos. And people I know, they cut the holes into it to put in downlights. They rip it out and replace it with sort of PVC roof or ceiling sheets and so on, without realizing they shouldn't be doing that.
Correct. That is correct. Yeah, listen, if you want to, when in doubt, get a test. Simple as that. Get it tested, and you know exactly where you're going as far as that is concerned.
Mm-hmm. And Stuart, what would you say? I mean, what is the issue with the asbestos? There was a time when it was really cheap and it made a lot of sense. I remember we had asbestos heaters growing up as kids, for instance.
Yes.
It was pretty much everywhere. It's now, I think, been outlawed. Have I got this right? It's been outlawed as a building material, has it?
That is correct. From about 2006, I think that was the last time. Up to about 2006, they were still manufactured and sold. But for now, you're not allowed to, or hopefully forever, not allowed to put it on your roof, not allowed to have anything with asbestos in it.
So what should I be doing? I mean, just rule of thumb. I know we need to call people like yourselves, but I mean, you say up to 10 squares I can repair myself. What should I be doing to make sure that, well, firstly, I protect myself. Secondly, I'm safe in doing it. Thirdly, I'm not endangering my health or that of people around me when I effect these repairs?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So when we say up to 10 square meters, obviously all the safety precautions all the time. So if you're going to be dealing with asbestos in your home, number one, you are not allowed to drill it. You're not allowed to cut it. You're not allowed to high pressure clean it. So when you are faced with this dilemma of asbestos in your roof, my suggestion is get the right guys in.
It's a hellishly expensive exercise. I know somebody, in fact, a neighbor of mine, who needed to replace, as part of an insurance claim, they said, listen, we're not fixing anything until you replace the asbestos in your property. It was not an inconsequential amount of money that got spent getting those things removed, never mind replacing with anything else. I mean, it's to get the experts in would be, dare I say it, a fairly, yeah, I mean, that's, which I can understand is why people are wanting just to do the shortcuts and get these things done themselves.
Yes, I agree. There's a lot of red tape, unfortunately. But, it is, at the end of the day, they call asbestos the 50-year disease, eh?
And what are the dangers? What happens if I cut it myself, if I drill into it myself, if I remove it, if I rip it down like I would normal rhino board ceilings?
Yes. Well, the problem is it's not what you can see, it's what you can't see. And that is the problem. So you are then releasing microfibers into the air, and they get stuck in your lungs. And the problem is, once they're stuck in your lungs, there's nothing you can do.
And does that give rise to a thing called asbestosis? Is that where it comes from?
Yeah, well, it's mesothelioma or asbestosis, or yes, and that's exactly where it is. And the problem is it becomes the 50-year disease. So you only pick it up 30, 40, 50 years down the line, and then it's too late.
Jeez, that's scary. And give me an idea, because a whole bunch of phone calls I need to make beyond my speaking to you. And I've got your colleague that we're going to catch up with in just a moment, Andre. He's actually going to be on site with us in Parkwood as of today.
Yes.
But how much work around the country happens with municipal housing stock, where they would have asbestos roofs? I don't think people fully understand the dangers that potentially lurk above them, either as ceiling boards or as roof sheeting, because I'm sure people would have gone there and cleaned it themselves. They would have gone there and done patch-up jobs themselves.
Absolutely.
On municipal and government housing stock. As an industry, how much work do you guys spend or do looking after government property?
Well, so the problem is, when it comes to housing, there's very little that is unsafe, in the sense, if you have an asbestos ceiling and you've painted it, technically, it is safe. It's only when you cut into it that it becomes a problem. And then on the roof side as well, especially the outside of the roof is your weather-facing roof.
Yeah.
On the inside, if you look at it, I've seen asbestos roofs or tested them that are 60, 70 years old, and there's no fiber released on the underside because there's no weathering on the inside. So there's no danger as far as that is concerned. You know, the law says the onus is on an employer of people to make it safe. So regardless if you own the home or you rent the home, or if you're employing people, the onus is on you to make it safe.
All right.
As simple as that. And that is the problem, I suppose, with the municipalities. They don't have the funds.
They wouldn't have the funds because it's a hellishly expensive exercise getting experts in. They've got to wear hazmat suits. They've got all sorts of things. All right, I'm going to leave it there. He's with Asbestos Africa and giving us, well, just some of the technical background to all of it. Really appreciate his time. That's Stuart Mabry. Also joining us on the line is Andre Struwig. He is part of Asbestos Africa, and he's part of the Cape Town contingent. He's going to be on site with us in Parkwood as of today. Morning, Andre.
Hi, good morning. How are you doing?
Lekker, man. Give us an idea on Letter's house and the complication there. You and your team have been there to assess. So as much as she has asbestos roof sheeting, her house is it's an attached home. We call them treinhuisies here in Cape Town. It's connected to a whole bunch of other homes. You can't just clean her bit, right? I mean, logic says you've got to clean all around it then at the same time.
Yes. Well, me coming out there this morning has actually put a front there which actually opens up like a whole can of worms, which that explain that to Marla, which that is the asbestos roof. And as I was hearing you speaking to Stuart, which he is my supplier in Port Elizabeth, and the only supplier for asbestos safe products.
Yes.
And what I mentioned to Marla is one of them is a lot of people, unfortunately, in Cape Town or around South Africa don't know the difference between normal roofs and asbestos roofs, like fiber cement sheets and that, because asbestos is much older. It picks up a lot of more algae and all of that stuff. So I've explained to him basically this roof, basically, you know, you can't just clean it. You're not allowed to clean it because once you clean it, you actually erupt the fibers, and that's, as Stuart mentioned, that will give you asbestosis and you nail it, and you got to corner it off, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So basically, as I said, we'll be through there, we'll come through, and we'll pick up not having anybody on site when we do all the spray of the bacteria, which that is the first stage. That roof hasn't got a lot of moss and algae on, which is a bonus. And, we'll spray still with bacteria for the kiddies and the people around. That kills all the bacteria on that roof. All right. And then the next stage will be the fiber. I mean, the what's it called? The primer. And once the primer goes on, that primer will bond all the fibers inside that roof. And then we'll leave that to dry, and once that's dry, we'll do the proper encapsulation with the top coat, and then that roof's going to be perfect.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, just to pick up on what we heard from Stuart a bit earlier, you know, I mean, I heard you say you're going to come along, you're going to do your initial work, but it is almost a matter of that the premises needs to be evacuated. Nobody with an immediate sort of lung shot of whatever's going on, because they can't breathe that stuff in. You can have guys up on that roof with masks on, with full safety suits. It's not just an easy thing of getting up there with a hosepipe and cleaning. I mean, that's and I've seen people do that in these neighborhoods, thinking that I'm going to clean my roof for Christmas to make it look nice and so on. They actually are putting themselves at incredible risk.
You're 100% right to that, and that is the sad part about it. You know, I understand a lot of people want to be out there and do the right thing and make money, but you know, there's precautions and things that you need to take in life, and you have to weigh the options. Am I going to do it, take the risk, and get sick and have this happen, or am I going to get the right people like us and Stuart involved, you know, that works around Cape Town, and say, listen, come out and have a look at our roofs and inspect it and tell us, listen, is this a right way? Can we go forward with this? And are we allowed to do this? And, you know, like we say, like Stuart said, if the roofs are broken and they're damaged, yes, by all means, you have to remove it and get it disposed of, you know. There's a special place where they dispose of asbestos roofs. There you need you need paperwork and certificates and that for that. You know, with us at the level 1, we're not fixing the roof, we're not repairing the roof or anything. We're just making sure that roof gets encapsulated so that roof doesn't need to be removed, and there's no reason for that roof to be removed if it's not broken.
Absolutely.
Clients don't need to remove it.
And I mean, just one critical thing you mentioned there, asbestos roof sheeting, you can't just take it off and go and dump it in the landfill at the municipality like you would with scrap metal and builder's rubble and so on. There's a very specialized way in which this needs to be disposed of, right?
First off, I think they've done the
M7.
Malmesbury, M7, yes.
Yeah.
That is the only place where they make disposal of that asbestos, and that is done through asbestos removal company. I have somebody that I do use here in Cape Town when it has to be removed. So if any clients are wanting to remove roof, I have somebody for that. But majority of the time, you don't need to remove it. It's a good roof in a way. It's lasted for a long time. But, you know, if you treat it properly with the products that are made from asbestos safe and the right products go on there, pay for the way.
Top class. All right. Andre Struwig, he's on site today, he's based in Cape Town as a service provider, and his supplier is based out in Kleberga. They called Asbestos Africa. So we had Stuart Mabry on the line. I think the most enlightening conversation, and I'm really glad we've had it because I think we face incredible dangers that we don't even realize in very many parts of the city, just in the way that we handle and dispose of asbestos roof sheeting and asbestos ceilings, particularly in old, what used to be rental stock. It might now be the title deeds might have been passed on to people. I don't think they fully appreciate the dangers that exist if they don't do things correctly.